Welcome to the Strpd Club, the podcast that strips away the noise and dives deep into the real, raw conversations every man needs to share.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Strpd Club, where we just take the mask off. You know, we have those vulnerable conversations that, sometimes would be considered taboo for men to be engaging it. And but I'm still here, still trying to do it. This is season 3. As I said, I'm not going to say this is episode anything, but we're gonna call it season 3 for right now. You guys most probably tired seeing me talking about myself and my history, and for those that have stuck through it, now you're gonna hear from other brothers, other friends of mine, other men and their stories, in the hopes of their stories touching your lives and really making a difference. So today I have a very special guest of mine, a friend, goes back to high school in Trinidad and Tobago. So this is now, we're going past 20 years. We're going back to 25, 30 years, actually 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. And this is a soccer player. This is a father. This is a very well-established, well-educated gentleman. And you will see him when we turn on the camera on this guy. He's dressed the part, right? And I'm really excited to welcome Mr. Kevin Lamy to the show.
Thank you.
Kevin, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Anytime.
Today is going to be a very stripped down conversation, so I hope you're ready for it.
Right.
No
right
Kleenex in the Strpd Club.
Well, I see that.
No Kleenex in the Strpd Club.
I see that.
Today we're going to talk about manhood, right? And how your journey has kind of redefined for me what it means to be a man, a modern man, right?
Yeah.
And so for those that don't know you and didn't get much from my introduction, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Kevin Lamy. Like Asa from Trinidad, as he said, 30 plus years ago, we went to high school together. We both moved up to Miami. We did our own thing, college, work, relationships, parties.
Plenty parties.
I live in Wellington now, father of 3, married.
Happily married. Father of 3
girls.
Beautiful little girls.
Yes, little girls indeed. 7, 6, and 3.
Yes. So 2 of which my son is shaping up to possibly marry at some point,
We'll see about
because they want to get in the Lamy household.
We'll see about
that. But no, Kevin has been more than a friend, a real inspiration, and I'm not just saying that on camera, but it's going to be documented.
I appreciate it.
I look from afar and I see a lot of what you have done, the role that you have played. You've gone to a prestigious university in the US, Barry University, and we still try to play soccer. Try to play. You better than most. But you have redefined what it means to be a man. So today, I want to start talking about your journey in the US. Coming from Trinidad and Tobago to the US, how has it been adjusting with that change of life? Because me coming from Trinidad was different.
Yeah.
So for you, how did you adjust?
Well, first, I come from a close-knit family, nice big family. So it was a huge adjustment. Now coming up here, being alone, the most you get is a phone call. back then,
Yeah, no
you know, that was
FaceTime. Yeah, no
yeah,
video.
no
That's Skype.
FaceTime,
Yeah, that's Skype.
Skype, you know, and then your parents can't use Skype.
Yeah.
So all you get is a little phone card and you
Yeah.
call them and
Oh, yeah,
chat for
remember those
15
phone
minutes.
cards? You had to go to the
Yeah.
gas station and
Gas
buy
station
it
and
and
get scratch
scratch
off
out the
your
number.
numbers. You know,
You have
so
1 minute left.
so that's how our relationship, you know, kind of stayed. And, you know, being in college, Barry University, luckily for me, it was in Miami. It's in Miami. It's close to home. Caribbean community was
Huge Caribbean
huge,
community.
you know, in Barry and around
Yeah.
Barry. So that kind of made me feel a little more at home, you know, and I think I settled a lot easier than some of my friends who I know went to different areas in the US.
You know, I don't understand those. I don't understand them.
Yeah.
Kelly.
And they kind of regretted it. I'm not gonna lie. They regretted it, you know.
I have some friends in Oklahoma.
Hey, to
I'm
each
like,
his
"Whoa,
own.
what you doing in Oklahoma? From Trinidad, you
Yeah.
really sit down. Back in the day, I used to have to go to the library. They had a big, thick book of universities.
Right? And
That you
just
used to have to go through in the
so-
American Library or Marval Road.
circle what you want.
And then you had to go and you had to write your letter. You had no email and all kind of stuff.
Everything was by hand, letter,
Right?
and your application by hand, and
Going through this book page by
Yeah.
page. How do you end up in Oklahoma?
I guess you pull all your feelers out. This is what I think. I think every day you pull your feelers out, and you know,
I don't understand that, man. I could understand it. You know, I
No.
almost ended up at Rutgers, right,
Okay.
to play soccer.
yeah,
And I remember it was for me to decide where I was going it was about the climate, and I didn't want to deal with the cold,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? Because I used to see pictures of them in glove and things.
that was
playing.
me for St. Francis in New York.
You see, now
I went and I just couldn't see myself doing it. Couldn't see myself doing it.
I never understood that. I never understood when you had a Miami or South Florida as
Yeah.
an option, and you ended up somewhere
You
else.
ended up somewhere else.
I had a lot of
You
friends
know?
went to Morehouse.
Yes.
A lot
few
of
guys
our
from
friends
Fatima went to Morehouse.
A lot of our
Yeah.
friends went to
Yeah.
Morehouse, and you know, I understood them. They were following the crew.
The crew, it was a huge group, you know,
Yeah.
and those guys are still close. I know
Very
that.
close
Yeah.
knit.
Those guys are still close. So
Who went
you
to
know,
Morehouse.
So for them, you know, it kind of worked out. And Atlanta's not that bad. You know,
Yeah.
it's not Miami, but it's not that bad.
Nothing is Miami.
nothing
bro.
is Miami,
Nothing is
you know?
Miami. But we both left Miami and
Yes.
now reside.
No.
We reside amongst the equestrians.
Yes, yeah.
But we went through a level of culture shock when
It
we
was.
came over here.
Yeah.
You going to New York, well, upstate.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
So I just went to, you know, on a recruiting trip,
Yeah.
basically. And I remember it was in November. It was snowing. It was just
Worst
it was
recruiting trip
the worst thing that you could
recruit
possibly think about. You know, and I remember, you know, the campus was one area, and then the field was another area, and then you live another area, and it was. And I told my dad.
Yeah.
I remember, I'm like, I think the coach back then was a Caribbean guy. Forgot his name, right? And he tried everything. You know, he tried everything to
Yeah.
sell it.
And he knew.
I told, yeah, he knew.
He
you
knew.
know, I left. I told my dad, I'm like, hey, I don't think
Yeah.
I could do it. You know, I don't think I could do it. First of all, I'm not a fan of the cold. Right? I like the cold. I like the
Yeah.
dress. You put your
Yeah.
jacket on, you know, but 2 weeks max.
Yeah. If so much.
If so
like,
much,
yeah.
you know, on vacation.
Yeah.
2 weeks on vacation, right? But
Okay,
I couldn't see myself
and-
getting up to
yeah.
go to class and
never be in school.
You know, doing that type of thing. And no, so
You ever played soccer in the snow?
in snow, no, but in really, really
Cold.
weather, yes.
Yeah.
You know, cold weather and cold rain and
And what
you
bro? What? How was your dad in receiving that information? Was it Barry automatic or
No. Back then, Barry wasn't even. It wasn't on the table at
Yeah.
that point. You know, it
Who
wasn't on
got
the
it to
table.
Barry, Dirk?
No, a good friend, Dennis Luyat.
Okay.
Yeah, he was there before me. When I told my dad, you know, I think he understood.
Yeah.
You know, he understood, and he was fine. He was like, you know, it's your choice.
Well,
You
leaving
know?
home is already hard.
Correct. You know, and he was like, it's your choice. you decide, once we could do it as a family,
Yeah.
So go check something else, and I went to a few other schools,
Outside of the cold.
outside of the cool, yes, came to Barry, and that was it.
Barry was a little fun fact that, I started, I think I did 2 days in Barry. But then I got chained up for the Americans, is convinced by a friend, by Darren Superville.
Okay.
He was at St. Thomas University.
Thomas, yeah.
And he got me to come across to Coach Kaplan at St. Thomas to play.
Okay.
But my whole thing was under Dunning at Barry.
At Barry, yeah.
Went, lovely field. The field was the best field I ever walk on. Like, Barry was on next level. And then, as you said, the Caribbean, the diaspora community in there was...
It was nice.
Nice,
yeah. It was really nice and welcoming, and,
Yeah. But hats off to Barry. Barry has really done it as far as making it feel home for Caribbean kids coming up to college. Yeah. I won't say I regret going to St. Thomas because we had a small Caribbean population. But I feel like I may have been a lot more comfortable at Barry.
At Barry?
Yeah.
I'm
feel
sure.
so. We had a party more.
We had a party a little more. A little more.
So you went to college, you got your degree. What?
I did undergrad. I did sport management with a minor business, and for my master's, I did higher education administration.
So you're just a smart guy.
So I did higher education administration.
A smart. Most Fatima men who come out here, Nintendo Ventures.
It was a lot of hard work and sacrifice, and but it worked out.
It did work out because you ended up wooing a beautiful young lady, and you got married, and then you spoke of your 3 kids. So tell us a little bit. How did you meet your wife?
I met my wife, I think, like most relationships now, online. Funny enough. We met.
See, I can't remember if I know this story.
Yeah, we met online. I lived in Miami still at that point. She lived in West Palm Beach. And
we met on MySpace?
No.
Okay.
No, it was Tinder.
No, Kevin, you had a Tinder account?
I had a Tinder account, yeah.
But back then, but Tinder was not to meet people to get married.
It was, yeah. For me, it was, it was, yes.
I guess you would say OnlyFans is just for,
pictures.
So you met her on Tinder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so met on Tinder. I lived in Miami. She lived in West Palm. I'm like, how's this going to work? And...
you need to adjust your filter. That's what you needed to do.
Funny enough, my filter was only for Miami and surroundings. It was only
getting higher, Leo.
Right? No comment. and same for her, talking about it, after the fact, she said a friend of hers, she's like, open your limits and see what you might get. And she opened, I opened, and we kind of matched, and that was it.
Wow.
We met like a week after we I guess both swiped right.
Yeah.
Then we met, and it just went from there.
See, I've never had the opportunity to have one of them dating apps. I got into my relationship pre dating apps. And I'm not saying that I'm going down that road because I think it's a little different now.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to know that I have a friend that has a success story.
Yeah.
Especially from Tinder.
I keep telling her, I'm like, we need to write Tinder.
Yeah, well, I hope Tinder.
I hope they're listening.
Listen to this. And this is going to. I need you to I'm going to tag Tinder on this because this is a testimonial for you.
We need to write them and give a story because like you said, joke aside or joke. When you hear Tinder, I remember working with a guy. First time I heard about Tinder, I was working with this guy, and every Monday, this guy would come with a story.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you have all these stories.
That's
I'm like,
excited.
I'm like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I
Tinder.
have this app, Tinder. So he opened the app
Yeah.
and he's like showing me blah, 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 you know, and he's like, yeah, you know, you swipe right. If they swipe right, then you meet up and, you know, go from there.
But don't you think that, you see, and this is, I'm an overthinker, right? So I look at a woman meeting me on Tinder is going to have an idea as to what I was doing, why I was on the app.
Yeah.
You didn't go through that with your wife? With her feeling that, well, you are a player, you just on Tinder
No.
because you want to meet flings.
No. Because I think she knew my past story at that, you know, after we spoke about it and stuff, you know. She knew my past and what led me to that, you know. I had funny stories too because a friend we mentioned before,
Yeah.
right?
You might hear a lot of his name.
Right? A friend we mentioned before signed me up for Only Farmers or farmers.com or some.
Farmers, was that insurance? Is that another?
It was like a farmers app.
Yeah.
You know, what a farmers did. And that was his joke, you know? So I'm like, dude, because from Trinidad, you know, I wouldn't say we didn't date, but you started to date or you started a relationship with a friend of a friend of a friend or some type of thing. You know, you won't just go out and total stranger and make it happen.
Because then your mother needs to know the father,
everybody
the
needs to know that
parents,
link somewhere. So it was kind of weird for me getting into it. You know, he wasn't in it before. You know, he's like, oh, well, yeah, you should try it. You know, it's easy, it's fun. You know, but so I'm like, all right, you know what? I'll try this Tinder thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I got signed up for it. He's like, I'll do your account for you. And, you know, and that's how I got into it. And it turned out, you know.
Well, maybe I should ask that friend if I should, I don't know, maybe you guys have inspired me.
But people use, I think they use, I heard somebody give a success story about, was it Bumble or something like that?
Don't act like you don't know.
I don't know. I was on Tinder and I closed my account and I never went back to those things.
You see, now I'm anyway. Let me just focus on Kevin Lamy today.
Never.
Let me focus on Kevin Lamy. One thing that stands out to me, especially in the US, is interracial relationship, which you're in. Right? Happily married for how long?
8 years.
8 years.
Into 8 years, yeah.
So just now you'll be a decade.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how has it been in an interracial, not just an interracial relationship, but she's not Caribbean.
Yeah.
How has that been for you?
The adjustment for me in that
You choose your words wisely.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking. You know, the adjustment.
And if you want to look at her, this is her camera here, right?
That's your camera. The adjustment was not like a big shock, a big shake up for me. I think because, you know, I wasn't in the US since 99 and we met, you know, about 2015. You know, so I kind of knew how...
You'd been in a couple interracial relationships before.
I was in one before.
Okay.
You know, which kind of, I think that was like my prep.
Yeah.
You know?
God was preparing you.
Was preparing me to not be as some might say shocked or thrown off or whatever it might be. But I think I went into it, you know, okay, I know you're not from the Caribbean or that type of thing. And I went in, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm from here. This is what we do. This is how we do it, you know. And I just put myself out there. And she was really, really
receptive. Yeah.
You know? Like
but she's an amazing person. Like she see when at least when I'm around, it seems that she'll mesh really well.
Yeah, we have a good time. I think we
you cook.
We kind of I do.
Your salmon burgers.
Yeah, I do everything what they want. You just ask. You know. But she was open to me being of a different cultural background. You know. and I was open to hers as well.
Yeah.
You know, so we kind of, you know, she would do. I started going country concerts.
You did line dancing and stuff?
No, I
You
refuse.
Okay.
I
So you
refuse.
draw the line.
I draw the line at
Okay.
line dancing.
All right,
Yeah,
good.
I refuse. You know, but
'Cause
country
our friend,
concerts.
I could see our friend doing that.
My God. I would like to see our friend do that. I would love to see her do that. But you know, so I think that was not a hurdle for us to really jump over or stumble or anything. You know, it was a smooth transition, a smooth mesh, you know, for our relationship.
Yeah.
She appreciated and liked what I do or what I did, where I was from, you know, and same for me. You know, like she would listen to soca on her own. You know, she has a whole soca playlist and you know, that type of thing. You know, the first time I found out about her, I was and I felt nice. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
No, but that's cool. That's
you
positive.
Know? Yeah.
And her parents, how was that relationship?
Easy. Her dad, like any dad, you know, you're meeting the dad for the first time, you know, and you might think that, oh, he's gonna be like, you know, what do you do? What's your name? Where's your family from? You know,
like a real Trini father.
Yeah. You know, and he was open. He was like, oh, hi. You know, we met, we spoke. I told him he was in higher education as well. I told him that I studied higher education. So I think that was like our first kind of little mesh.
Yeah.
You know, I made it easy. And from there, you know, our relationship just grew. And it was a smooth relationship. He would call or I would call. You know, to this day, he still calls me. He's like, hey, I need help doing X, Y, Z.
Nice.
You know, and we have that relationship. Same with her mom. You know, like mom's a little softer and more gentle. And, you know, and her mom was always wide open to anything, to receive, you know, to give everything. You know, it was really nice. No mother-in-law, father-in-law horror stories.
Beef. Yeah.
You know, it was really nice and still is.
So for men who are, because you know in the US there's a whole thing around interracial.
Yeah.
You know, at some points it was frowned upon, and for a man looking to maybe explore an interracial relationship on and off Tinder, what kind of advice would you give them?
First advice, if you want your relationship to work out, you have to put the outside and outside distractions and outside opinions aside and focus on that relationship. Because the moment you say you go out, you know, and I've had it happen, you go on a date or you're out, you know, maybe just to the mall or whatever it might be, you know, in public, and you see people, they look, you know, and they're like, why is she with him? You know, I don't know what they're thinking, but from the look,
correct,
you know, you could kind of pick things up. Or why is she with him, or why is he with her? You know, and I'm talking on both sides. You know, at first, you know, I would be uneasy. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I would be uneasy. You know, and it took a little while to know. Be like, you know what? Who cares? Number one, that's a stranger. I don't know them, they don't know me. So why should I really have their opinion or their stare or their look or their comments? Because you hear little comments sometimes, you know, have their comments affect your relationship, you and your partner, you know. Some people might let that affect them and you're like, you know what, maybe this is not for me, you know, and you find an excuse to walk away. And you might walk away from probably the best thing.
Correct.
You know, probably the best thing that could happen to you.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't walk away, because from your persistence, perseverance, and commitment, you guys have created 3 amazing little souls.
Fun bunch.
That I when I see the family together, as I say, it's inspirational.
Fun bunch. Thanks.
As a father, right?
Yeah.
What's unique to you and your situation is that you're a stay-at-home dad.
Yes.
And I could joke about it all day and say, boy, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
Right? But maybe I myself have to get over the he's staying at home, right? He lazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How do you maneuver that whole? But I guess it wasn't always you, right?
Yeah.
Because this happened during COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I had, I was working, I had my own business running, doing my stuff, worked with kids in schools and so forth. COVID came along. Like everybody knows, COVID kind of shut everything down. Schools, you name it, right? Everything was shut down. So it was, I would say, from going at 100 miles per hour to zero in like 15 minutes. They're like, oh, schools are closed.
Done.
That's it. And back then I had a staff. I had 7 people, working with me, and who depended on me and stuff. So now I had to make a decision. What or how am I going to tell these 7 people that there's no more? Right. So that was tough. So that kind of led me into now being a stay-at-home dad, because my kids, they were in school as well. Their schools ended up closing, and my wife and her position and her job afforded us the opportunity where, one of us could stay home, and to be honest, COVID really didn't affect her and what she did. So it was cheaper for me to stay at home than pay somebody to take care of the 3 kids.
Yeah.
Because at that point, people knew you were desperate, right, for childcare and stuff. So the prices were,
COVID inflated.
the options were limited, and the prices and the options out there, the prices were really, so I ended up staying home at that point. Huge adjustment, huge adjustment, I think from all angles.
Yeah.
From mental, physical, emotional, you name it.
But some would say that they have men that are so proud that they wouldn't even embrace that role.
Yeah.
What made you?
So I think, like a lot of Caribbean, parents here as well, if you have a son, you bring your son up, you have to take care of your family, and, so you're thinking, the first thing people think about take care of your family means financially. Right? Means financially and only financially. And that is not necessarily the case. Yes, it helps, right? But there are tons of different little, avenues that lead you to a successful family, right? So it was an adjustment, not bringing a paycheck to the table, right? And it was adjustment now taking over the role of what society would have considered, or sometimes consider, as you say, a strong man would consider, right? And you had to cook, you had to do laundry, you're there with the kids 24/7, right? So now you have to find activities for them to do, and you be there all the time. Oh, I'm hungry, and you have to feed your kids. So you have to make that happen on the fly, and it was at the end of the day, you put them to bed at say like 7:30, and at the end of the day,
Surprised not like 5 p.m. I go in
you
and
would wish, right? You would wish, but I think they might report me. Well, it was a huge adjustment, getting over that, and then even like when you speak to people, you go and you socialize. Hey, what do you do? And people say, hey, I'm a lawyer, I'm this, I'm that, I have my own business. And what about you? Say, I'm a stay-at-home dad, and for a while it was difficult for me to say that.
Even articulate that was,
right? I would say it, but then I would put because, blah, 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 and I really didn't have to say because, but, I'm a stay-at-home dad. That's my role.
Yeah.
That's my role in my successful family.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing role.
So you've in this role, this amazing role, and I'll use the word, you have had to adopt a level of patience.
Some more, yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought, as I said, I worked with kids, right?
Yeah.
So I always try to be patient, right, with kids. But at the end of the day, somebody else's kid,
Yeah.
right? But now when you're with your kid, you had to be a little extra patient, you know? So I had to adjust or kind of increase my patience level, you know, with kids, you know, and then you're all stressed out all day, and then now you add a partner into it, right? At 5 o'clock, you add a partner into that day of stress.
Yeah.
Not saying that she's stressful, but
No, we're not
you
saying
know,
that at all. At all.
Right?
It's,
Not saying she's stressful, but you know, you add now another person into your day at
Yeah.
5 o'clock, right? And you're trying to get everything organized still.
yeah.
You know, that kind of was an issue at the start, you know, but like anything else, the more you do it, now you figure out, okay, how to do it, when to do it,
Yeah.
you know, and now we just streamline through a day,
Yeah.
you know, from wake up, get them ready for school, they off at school, you know, I do my things during the day, you know, pick up from school, dinner,
Yeah.
after school,
Yeah.
programs and all of that stuff, you know, so it's pretty streamlined now, you know, but still takes some patience sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes you just smile and walk away.
Yeah.
And I've always tried that with everything, you know, you walk away from a situation, no matter what situation.
Yeah.
If it's getting to you to that point where you feel like you're gonna blow, you know, just walk away.
Walk
Go
away.
in the next room. Just
Yeah.
make a block.
Yeah.
Something.
Well, you have plenty of options because there's a lake,
You know?
there's a boat, there's a pool.
Yes, yes, sir.
There's a, you know, there's a in-laws house, you know, there are a lot of options. As I said before, I'm trying to get into the Lamy household. What is the relationship like with your daughters?
With my daughters, we have a really good relationship. You know, I think they look at me as a fun parent.
Yeah.
You know, I think because they spent more time with me,
Yeah.
you know, when they were younger, during those COVID months and stuff. So we did a lot of fun things, you know. They sometimes bypass mommy and would come ask me, you know, for a snack
Yeah.
or, you know, whatever it might be, you know. So we have a good relationship. We have with each kid, you know, my relationship is different. My youngest, you know, we spend most of the time together. So she's really into me.
Yeah.
She's like my little shadow.
Yeah.
I can't do anything without her, like right there,
Yeah.
you know.
She drove him here today, guys.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
She's my shadow, you know. Then I have my second. She is the joker,
yeah.
you know. And I like to joke. I like to
Yeah.
play around, you know. She likes that. She likes to like, you know. She's like, Dad, let's box. Let's
Yeah.
do this. Let's just show me, you know. And then my eldest is in love with soccer,
Yeah.
and I'm in love with football.
Yeah.
Football. She's in love with football.
Yeah.
I'm in love with football. you know?
That's Jack Scotter's
So she is, you know, that's my, you know, we have, she has practice this afternoon, so I have to run out there, take up the practice this afternoon, and that's our little moment,
Yeah.
you know, and we talk about it, and she asks me questions about me playing in the past, and, you know.
That's cool, man.
So we have our relationships like that, you know, but you still have to be a parent,
Yeah.
you know. I'm not a friend. You know, and I try to let them know that I'm
Yeah.
not your friend, right? I'm your dad, and we can have as much fun,
Yeah.
you know, but there's a line with everything, you know, because I think sometimes if you leave or want your kids be friends, then there's no line, you know. Then
Little taste of my life now.
then there's no line, and you end up, you know, in some real
trouble.
problems. Yeah, because, you
end
know,
up in trouble.
when they're 5 years old, it's cute.
Yeah. When they're 13.
But when they're 13,
yeah.
14, 15,
You're gonna pay
those
for
ages,
it. Yeah.
it's not cute anymore.
Yeah.
You know, at that point, it might be too late.
Yeah, detrimental.
You know, it might be too late to correct a situation that could have been dealt with in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, a few years ago. So, you know, I try to keep that balance with them.
Yeah.
You know, even though we have tons of fun, you know, tons of fun, I always keep that line.
Yeah.
and they know if I say it once, right? Sometimes that's once too
Yeah.
many, right? But they know. I think they all, even the youngest, she's 3. I think she even knows. Okay, when daddy means business.
When the Trini
When
accent
it come
out.
out and it get a little louder,
Yeah.
they know.
When the sternness in the voice,
They know when
hear
that
it.
time
Yeah.
is. So they have adjusted,
Nice.
really well to that.
Yeah.
They will still push like any kid. They
Yeah.
will still push the buttons and try to
see
push the
how
limits.
much.
But, I think they figured it out.
Yeah.
And I know how to deal with each kid differently.
Yeah.
So.
And
it's
your
fun.
wife, how is that relationship? Because, so many times you hear, and I hear it from my mom, like she will come visit and I was the one working.
Yeah.
And my ex-wife was the one at home with the kids, right? And, you come home from work, I running 3-4 businesses, you come home, I tired.
Yeah.
Like I try to help. I do the homework. I take them to soccer practice. I am involved. But it seemed to be never enough.
Yeah.
Because like staying home with the kids is such a big job. And I'm not saying it sarcastically, but it is from the person doing it. It seems that you're out.
Yeah.
You're doing you interacting with people, you're not just interacting with children whole day. Like, I need a break.
Yeah.
Like, well, I need a break too coming home from work.
Yeah.
So how is that dynamic with your wife?
It's good. I think we both know where we're at, and how to manage that. I would say she is really, really, really understanding, to the point that, I was shocked as to how much she understood. Right? So I'll go back to, for instance, when I said we met and I was living in Miami, she was living here. I finally moved up to West Palm, still worked in Miami, did that commute, so I would get back to West Palm, say like 8:00 at night, work all day, traffic, come back up the road.
You guys had kids at that time?
At that time, we had 1 kid.
Oh, wow.
At that time, and I would come back home and I would be burnt out, just from traffic.
The drive alone?
Just the drive, right?
Yeah.
Not even the job, just the drive. And she would greet me with a glass of wine. She's like, look, she would be like, take 20 minutes just to kind of decompress. Right? And I used to take that 20 minutes and sit out on the step and think, I'm like, is she planning something?
Yeah. Hostility. What's in this wine?
Right? Right? At the start. And then I realized, I'm like, she is just really understanding.
Yeah. Special woman,
what my day was and how it was and how I'm feeling. So, when I decompress and I go back in, we'll start, have dinner and, go about it. And
she has friends. She has a friend circle.
She has her friends. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're all taken.
Okay.
Yeah. But you never know.
Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. But she was understanding from then. So me getting to see that part of her, when we switched that role now into me being a stay-at-home parent.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, okay. Right, now it's my turn to kind of like reach out with a glass of wine,
and reciprocate.
Reach out with a glass of wine, and start dinner before she even jumps on it, type of thing, and we kind of understood each other in what our day was like, for her job right now, I know certain days are more stressful than other days. So on those stressful days, I'm not going to come there with like a whole plate of issues and things that we have to work on. And, you'll take it light. And then, we meet in the middle and we discuss and go from there.
Sounds like a healthy relationship.
So I believe so. It works for us.
Yeah.
It works for everybody. Everybody deals differently. But it works for us how we go about, our day.
Yeah. I continue to pray for you guys.
Yeah, thank
all
you.
Now, the conversation around masculinity.
Mhm.
And, you mentioned before, being in circles where, you have to say, oh, well, this is what I do.
Yeah.
How do you deal with, or have you ever had to deal with the judgment around you being a stay-at-home dad from other men or
Yeah.
even other women?
Yeah. You like early on, I would say, right? Early on, you have that conversation. Oh, what do you do? What do you do? Right? And you say, I'm a stay-at-home dad. And then the conversation just goes silent. Right? So it felt like if now the other side who heard that I'm a stay-at-home dad, they're like, okay, what do I do with this? How do I ask a follow-up question? So as I said, I would now open I'm a stay-at-home dad because COVID did this and blah, 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 my business. Now it's changed, right? I'm a stay-at-home dad and I love it.
Yeah.
Right? And then that I think that kind of breaks the ice where now people, men, I should say, first of all, men now is be like, I love it. I'm like, yeah, boy, I wish I could do that,
I told you that. I wish I could do that.
And I've been hearing that more and more.
Yeah.
I've been hearing that more and more from people that I come across, people I know, acquaintances, close friends, and strangers, as I say, if, socially you go about and you meet somebody along the way. And so I think, like you mentioned, the modern man now, I think a lot of people they're more open to now receiving that or hearing about it or even considering it. Considering it as an option probably.
I told my kids that this weekend, come in.
Put the mic in front of you. Yeah. Sorry.
Being in coming from a situation, being divorced now and having my kids once a week, every other week, so twice a month.
Yeah.
I told them yesterday, I was like, I wish I could have you guys like all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then my 7-year-old, my 8-year-old turned to me and he said, well, when are you going to work? Because he realizes that when I'm with them, it's just them.
It's just them.
Right? But that's just like, I feel like that's the happiest time for me is when I'm just with them and we just, enjoying life, even if it is that I'm in the living room and they're in their bedrooms and you're just hearing the voices and, I could never replace that. Right. But I get how much work it is for that 1 week. You see, by back to school was last week.
Yeah.
Even before, by Thursday, I can't move. I take a nap on Thursday afternoon before I have to go pick up my kids from school because I know from the time I pick them up, but by Thursday I am dead. I can't do anything. So kudos to you for pushing through.
Yeah, no, I look at it now. Well, as I've been doing it for a little while, I look at it now, and I'm like, you know what? I'm lucky to be in this position that I could be there for my kid, pick up my kid early from school, or because I know there's some parents, they might have to work till 5 or 6 o'clock, whatever the case is, then they go pick their kid up from
aftercare.
And it's then a rush now to get dinner done, homework done, bedtime, and then even if you're adding after school
activity
to that, so they are now missing out on some real quality time with their kid, and then Saturday, Sunday comes, and as a parent, you work all day, you want some time for yourself as well to recharge your battery and just, maybe just sit on the couch.
That leads me into my next question for you. How do you deal with your mental health and that time for you?
Yeah.
Where do you get that? Because you're not playing soccer again.
Yeah, I know.
Your soccer team loses all the time.
I said, Manchester is back. Right? So my time, my alone time, I would say, we get the kids out the door by 9 o'clock. My last kid, I would take a small one smallest, take her 8:45 to school, and then between 9 and 10, right, I might take my time, drink a cup of coffee or tea, have some breakfast, and just relax until like 10 o'clock, right? And then 10 o'clock hits, and then I start whatever I need to accomplish throughout my day. This is how my week goes, right? Throughout my day until pick up at 3:45, 4 o'clock, then you get the kids back. They come home, a little homework, aftercare. And on the weekends.
So wait, pause. So 1 hour a day during the week.
Yeah, until when you get them into bed, and by the time you shower, close up the house for the night, you probably lay flat at 9 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
9:30 sometimes. I'd be like, oh, let's check what's on. We're watching a series. Right now, we're watching a movie for like 4 nights straight.
What's the movie?
Kandahar on Netflix.
Yeah, that I watched it.
Right?
I watched that's your first movie. I must have watched straight through.
Yeah, we're in night 4, right?
Kandahar is good.
We go to bed and then we can't make it till we fall asleep.
Yeah.
And we pause it till the following night. You know what I mean? So that's how the week is for us.
Yeah.
And then do it all again the next day. On the weekends, I try to just relax on a Saturday. But then there's always a soccer game or gymnastics or dance or something to do. So I try to fit in my alone time, as I said, between that 9, 10 o'clock during the week and Saturday mornings, because we wake up at the same time.
Yeah.
You wake up at the same time,
Body
6:30,
program,
7,
yeah.
and you drink a cup of tea and you just wait till you hear the voices at around 9 o'clock.
Wait, quiet.
Yeah, pretty much, And you wait till you hear the voices, luckily the 3 girls, they occupy each other.
Yeah.
So you might hear the voices, but they're doing their own thing, in the playroom or in their bedrooms or whatever. So you get an extra half an hour.
Before
and then they're hungry. And they're like, what's for breakfast? And then it goes from there. So as much as I could find this time, I try to take it.
Yeah.
Because it's important.
Do you find yourself ever feeling like you're losing you as a man with all of the service to everyone else that you kind of have to be?
Initially, when I first started as a stay-at-home dad, initially I did, because I felt, I would tell myself, I did all this schooling, and now I'm a stay-at-home dad, right? So I would feel like if I wasted time, money, effort, everything.
If I only had Tinder 6 years before.
Feel like I wasted everything. And then now you have to battle now the role of a man.
Yeah.
So you feel, oh my word, you're growing up, you're like a stay-at-home parent. When we grew up, meant a mom. A mom was the stay-at-home parent, not the dad.
Yeah.
So now you're like, oh, I'm less of a man because I'm doing a woman's role.
Yeah.
And it's not like that at all.
At all.
It's not like that at all. So it was a small battle, but now, I am totally fine and secure in what I do.
Yeah.
And the role that I play.
It's an integral role.
For our little group.
Yeah. The empire you're building.
Right? I'm trying.
Yeah.
So I'm totally fine and secure with where I'm at with it. I tell myself now I'm lucky.
Yeah. And your son-in-law is going to be lucky too at one day.
Yeah, I hope so.
Jax is being prepared for his role.
I hope so, right? Yeah, big shoes to fill.
He will fill them. He will fill them.
I tell my girls what to look for.
Yeah. All right. Well, he don't like Manu, so he don't like Manu. He might be losing already there. So What kind of advice would you give a man who is in this situation right now and fighting that battle to get overcome, how society perceives him,
Yeah.
like what kind of advice would you give that guy?
To ask yourself, what is your main focus? Right? And I say that meaning, are you focused on what the outside might think? Or are you focused on your family? Right? And how you want your family to be? How you want your family to be taken care of? And how you want your family to move on and move forward. Right? Because if you sit there and try to battle what people might think outside, then you lose focus of what you're supposed to do inside. Right? And that's an important piece. Right? Because you take away now part of your focus on your kids, or your wife, or your household in general. Because, hey, my neighbor, or the guys, you might be, part of a group or part of
Yeah.
a team or something, and a group of friends or whatever it might be. Guys will give you talk.
Regardless.
They'll make jokes, right? But I think most guys know if they were to sit down and really ask themselves a question, or that question, as in how important that role would be, they would tell themselves, you know what? They might be driving like, I wish I could stay home with little Johnny and and
Be
just
an
be
example.
there
Yeah.
and teach them whatever it might be. Because at the end of the day, when we all get old, right, and now they're all on their own and they have to now go do it on their own, right? They already have, how I look at it, right? They already have what I've taught them.
Yeah. That
Right.
foundation.
That foundation, how a family should be, right? So now when they go on their own, they know, okay, this is what I do in a situation similar. It might be the exact situation, but in a similar situation, this is how I attack it. This is how I approach that.
Okay. And looking at your total life and it's totality. What brings you the most peace?
Staying at home with my family. Staying at home with my family, one, and sharing my family with my extended family, meaning my parents, sisters, say when we go visit Trinidad and stuff, just sitting there and seeing the interaction with everybody, even on a call, on a WhatsApp call, you have all these group calls and, five, six people on a group call and seeing everybody just going back and forth and talking and interacting.
Like the Brady Bunch.
Like the Brady Bunch, pretty much, Had one of those yesterday.
Yeah.
And I just sit there sometimes. I just leave the group and I pull the phone up and just let them go at it. And
that's special.
That brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
A lot of joy.
All right, so you ready for the rapid fire round?
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. You ready?
Shoot.
All right. I don't want you to think much about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me first answer that comes to your head, right?
Okay.
First question. The best part of being a girl dad?
Seeing them grow into responsible little girls.
Both Jackson and I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right.
Very welcome.
Most misunderstood thing about fatherhood?
That is hard.
Okay.
All right. You want me to explain that?
No, I mean you could, but
could.
that answer in itself is, I feel, an explanation. That
Okay, I could explain. I could open up on that. That is hard. It's not hard. It's just a growing chance for you and your kid. Right? It's an opportunity for you as a parent, as a dad now, to work through things and make it easy.
Okay.
Right? Because some people say, oh, that's too hard.
Yeah.
And stop. Sometimes you have friends who may not have kids. Like, hey, why you don't have, kids?
Yeah.
Hard, that's too hard.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Okay.
It's
I
fun.
like your perspective, Mr. Lamy.
Yeah,
I
it's
like your
fun.
perspective.
Always look for the positive
Yeah.
in something.
Favorite memory with your daughters?
Taking them to Trinidad and they're riding their bikes in the same yard that I grew up in,
All right.
riding my bike.
Yeah.
Swear to God.
And one word that best describes your journey.
One word to describe my journey as a in life totally, or as a
In life.
girl dad. In life, interesting.
Interesting.
I would say interesting.
And if your daughters were listening to this right now,
Mhm.
what would you want them to know about love and their father?
If you give love, you get love. It's unconditional. And about their dad, that he's proud of them. Even at 6, 7, and 3, and to keep being good girls.
And I want you to finish this statement. Being a man means
Being present. Being present in everything that you do.
all right. Mr. Lamy, I want to
Yes,
thank
sir.
you for your time today.
This was fun. This was fun.
And sharing your perspective, sharing your story.
Yeah.
I do hope that it touches others out there that
Mhm.
that on the fence that could play a different role
Yeah.
in their family, and just out of pride and stuff.
Yeah.
Looking at it as that's going to be less of a man,
Yeah,
because
don't let pride
yeah.
pride could choke you. So
Yeah,
don't let
because
pride, don't let pride do that.
out of a lot of the men that I know, you are one of the most, for me, successful, and that obviously doesn't really mean that you have this big business, and
Yeah.
just to see how
Yeah.
you run your family unit
I get
and
that.
how
Thank you.
present you are.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you for coming out
It was a
today.
pleasure. Thanks for
All
having
right.
me.
No problem.
Anytime.
So that's it for today's conversation. And I hope I gave you something real to think about. Here at the Strip Club, again, we're not about pretending. We're not about putting on masks. We're about honesty. We're about healing. We're about growth. And if this episode spoke to you, just do me a favor. Share it with a brother. Share it with a friend. Anyone who needs to hear this message. Feel free to share. And if you haven't already, as I do at the end of every episode, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because guess what? There will be a next one. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening. And most of all, thank you for being a part of this community. And as I always say at closing, stay stripped.